What is morality? What makes an action right or wrong? For centuries, philosophers have explored these fundamental questions, searching for answers that could guide us through life's toughest choices. Imagine this: you see someone drop their wallet on a busy street. Do you return it because it's the right thing to do, or because you feel empathy for the person who lost it? Moments like these may seem small, but they raise big questions about what drives our sense of right and wrong. At the heart of this debate stand two philosophical titans: Immanuel Kant, who argued that morality is about following universal rules, and Arthur Schopenhauer, who believed it stems from understanding and alleviating the suffering of others. Today, we're diving into their epic philosophical clash. By exploring Schopenhauer's On the Basis of Morality, we'll uncover why he believed Kant's moral system, despite its brilliance, missed the most crucial element of ethics. To get deeper into this discussion, I want you to know what morality means in simple terms. Morality refers to the principles or rules that guide people in determining what is right or wrong, good or bad. It's about how individuals or societies decide how to behave toward others, what actions are acceptable, and what actions are not. Let's dive into Kant, a philosopher whose moral philosophy forms one of the bedrocks of Enlightenment thinking. At the core of Kantian ethics lies the categorical imperative. Kant's famous formulation is, act only according to that maxim by which you can, at the same time, will that it should become a universal law. In essence, Kant believed that true morality is based on reason alone. It's a universal standard that doesn't bend for personal emotions, inclinations, or even the potential consequences of an action. According to Kant, what makes an action moral is not its outcome, but the purity of intent, the commitment to doing what's right simply because it is right. Let's break down this principle with a concrete example. Imagine you find a wallet full of money on the street. You're tempted to keep it, and no one is around to witness your decision. According to Kant, if you consider taking it, you'd need to ask yourself, what if everyone in this situation took what they found without attempting to return it? This question leads us to the principle of universality. If everyone kept what they found, there would be no trust that lost property would ever be returned, eroding a social fabric of honesty and fairness. So by Kant's standard, keeping the wallet would be wrong, regardless of how it might benefit you or how unlikely it is for anyone to find out. For Kant, then, the moral choice is to return the wallet because honesty aligns with a principle you could will as universal. And this choice is what he calls acting out of duty. Not because of fear, reward, or empathy for the person who lost the wallet, but because you respect the rational principle behind honesty itself. But for Schopenhauer, this sounded cold, lifeless, and frankly disconnected from how humans actually behave. And that's where his critique begins. On the Basis of Morality, Schopenhauer accuses Kant of building an abstract, overly rational moral system that ignores the true wellspring of ethical behavior: compassion. Schopenhauer argues that morality doesn't arise from rigid rules or a sense of duty, but from an intuitive recognition of the suffering of others. Let's bring Schopenhauer's perspective to life by revisiting our wallet example. According to Kantian ethics, you'd need to analyze your action through the lens of universal law. Would it be right if everyone kept what they found? Reason tells you that taking the wallet would break a universal principle of honesty, so you should return it out of duty. But for Schopenhauer, this decision isn't about abstract reasoning, it's about compassion. Picture this: as you open the wallet, you notice a family photo and a few bills that seem like they're all the money this person has. At that moment, you feel a pang of empathy, a recognition of their potential distress. You imagine the stress, maybe even the panic they'll feel when they realize their wallet is missing. That emotional connection becomes the real motivator to return it. You don't need to think about universal laws or logical duties. You simply feel that helping this person is the right thing to do because you can understand their suffering. But why compassion? For Schopenhauer, it all ties back to his unique metaphysical worldview. At the deepest level, he argues all living beings are connected. They're all manifestations of a single underlying force he calls the will. I personally believe that God created us this way, intentionally making us connected to one another. Anyways, according to him, when we help others, we're really helping ourselves. Or at least another facet of the same universal being. Imagine it like this. When you hurt your toe, you don't think of it as separate from yourself. The pain radiates through your whole body and you immediately respond, caring for it. Schopenhauer sees compassion in a similar way, an awareness that, beneath our individual identities, we're all interconnected. When we see someone else's suffering, easing their pain is like responding to our own. Schopenhauer's compassion, then, isn't just an emotion, it's a direct expression of this shared will. Through compassion, we are easing the suffering of a different part of ourselves. Imagine a healthcare worker in a conflict zone. They're surrounded by patients in urgent need, some of whom may even be on the opposing side of a political or military divide. According to a strictly duty-bound ethical code, they could treat only those aligned with their mission or beliefs, choosing based on rational guidelines. But driven by compassion, they feel a connection to each patient's suffering, no matter their background, seeing each as a fellow human in pain. In the heat of that moment, compassion transcends duty, compelling the healthcare worker to treat everyone equally, risking personal safety to ease the suffering of all, regardless of affiliation. In this scenario, compassion is what motivates them to look past boundaries that duty might create. Schopenhauer's ethics resonate deeply in situations where cold, rational rules fall short. Think about the complexities of moral dilemmas in healthcare, social justice, or even personal relationships. Compassion often leads where duty hesitates. Schopenhauer's ideas feel remarkably relevant today. In a world that celebrates empathy as a guiding moral force, his philosophy brings both validation and a word of caution. He'd argue that true compassion isn't just a warm feeling. It's a profound recognition of our shared existence. But he'd also remind us that this sense of unity is often clouded by ego and self-interest. Modern psychology backs him up on this point. Studies show that empathy can indeed motivate prosocial behavior more effectively than abstract moral reasoning. But here's the catch: empathy isn't always reliable. It can be selective, biased, or even overwhelming. Schopenhauer challenges us to go deeper, cultivating a steady, universal compassion. One that cuts through the illusion of separateness and connects us with others at a foundational level. So what do you think? Can morality survive without compassion? Or does Schopenhauer's critique expose a fundamental flaw in Kant's ethics? Let me know in the comments below. And if this sparked your curiosity, don't forget to subscribe and keep exploring the world of philosophy with me.